Well, hello and welcome once again. The US results, it's election night in the United States. It's morning for us here in India, but it is looking absolutely fascinating. I think let's turn our attention to the swing states if we can. These swing states, there are 7 of them: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. It's these states which are going to result in the elections going either the way of Trump or of Kamala Harris, because they're traditional strongholds for the Democrats, and the Republicans are holding for the moment. But I think, Parmeshwar, what we are seeing now, and if we just take a look at, this is what I was explaining yesterday. I'm going to get up and just explain to our viewers what we are talking about over here. Now, this results and leads are all essentially coming in right now. There are some victories, there are no big surprises, but traditionally blue has been the Democrat strongholds all across the country. Now, we have not got results as yet, for example, from California, from the northeast of the United States. The red areas are the strongholds of the Republicans, and the 7 swing states are the ones which we've got marked in gold over here. The battle, in a sense, is for the swing states, because so far, whatever we are seeing and whatever results have come out seems to indicate that the Democrats are holding blue, the Republicans are holding red. A lot of results yet to come. Counting percentages still relatively low in some cases. It's all going to take place in the swing states. So that's what we had expected. So in terms of the swing states itself, where exactly are we? Well, it does now appear, and it's interesting, that the Republicans appear by and large to be ahead in the swing states. So they're ahead in Arizona, right? I beg your pardon, they are ahead in Arizona, they're ahead in Georgia, they're ahead in North Carolina, they're ahead in Pennsylvania, neck and neck right now. Just 0.3 of a difference with the Democrats in the lead. And in Wisconsin, the Republicans are ahead. Now, the only factor over here which the Democrats would be looking at and saying, no, let's not get ahead of ourselves, is voting percentage. For example, I said Wisconsin, it's working towards the Republicans. Just 9% of votes are in, so that's very small. If you look at some of the other areas, Michigan, 16%, it's in favor of the Democrats. So the Republicans could easily turn around and say that, no, look, this might well turn and go in our favor. But things in the swing states are not looking very, very good again. If we can have, Pennsylvania, for example, what we've been talking about, marked by PA over there, this is where it's absolutely neck and neck at this stage. It's just a 0.3 difference between Harris and Trump, and with 19 electors from Pennsylvania who are absolutely critical. Remember, in the United States system, it is whoever wins a state gets all of the electors over there. It's a winner takes all system. So 19 for Pennsylvania would go either to Harris or Trump. Harris was leading in Pennsylvania. It's been seen to be a bit of a bellwether, but at this stage it does appear that Trump has closed the gap to 0.3, and with some more counting yet to happen, we'll have to wait and see what actually takes place. Several of the other swing states at this stage appear to be going towards Trump. The only thing that Kamala Harris's supporters can say is that, look, wait, the voting percentage, counting percentage still needs to go up a little bit for things to be definitive. Parmeshwar?
That's absolutely right. Also, just to get a quick check on what's happening as far as a Trump watch party is concerned, we have Caroline with us, Vishnu joining us currently. Caroline, what's the mood where you are? You had mentioned that there was wine and all the cheer and there was jubilations about an hour ago. Still hunky-dory where you are?
Still very much so. I mean, you can just feel the energy rising here. People feel very optimistic. They feel very positive. Spoke to a man, though, in the crowd, and he's busy writing things down on a piece of paper. And I said, what are you keeping tabulations on? And he said, I'm just adding everything up. And I said, okay, what's it come down to? And he said, Pennsylvania. He said, it's all about Pennsylvania, all 19 electoral votes. If Trump can get that, he's got it sewn up. That's his prediction, not mine. Just relaying that to you. His wife then interrupted and said, no, it's going to be over tonight. It's definitely going to be Trump very soon. So we'll see. Everything's up for grabs. It's honestly too early to really call this tonight. we've said 188 electoral votes for Trump right now and 99 for Harris. Now, remember, he has to get to 270. So he still has many more states to get that check mark aside before he then is considered the 47th president of this country.
If I can, Jennifer, if I can just ask you about the swing states, because that's really interesting. Let's have Jennifer back on the screen if we can. I was asking her a question. It just appears at this stage, Jennifer, that the Republicans are doing much better than what the situation was even an hour back. If you look at Georgia, if you look at North Carolina, if you look at Wisconsin, and even if you look at Pennsylvania, you know, it does appear to be going the Republican way. I mean, it's still a 0.3 difference between the Democrats and the Republicans in Pennsylvania. But in all these other key swing states, you know, the Republicans are ahead. And this is where the election is going to be won and lost, right?
I'm sorry. Are you talking to me or are you talking to Carolyn?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Yes, that's what he says. That's, you know, it is the state with the most electoral votes, 19. And that's what the gentleman behind me said. That's what I've heard all through this campaign. It's all about Pennsylvania. And it just shows you, I mean, Kamala Harris went to 5 different cities in Pennsylvania yesterday, the last day of the campaign. And former President Trump went to Pennsylvania too. In fact, one of the same cities she went to, Pittsburgh. He also went to Michigan and he also went to North Carolina. So all important swing states, Pennsylvania has been said to be the key and apparently still is.
All right, thanks very much for being with us. Let's go across to Brad Bannon, who's been tracking all of these developments very, very closely. Brad, thanks very much for being with us. Let's focus a little bit on the swing states. It just seems that as every half an hour or every hour passes, you know, I mean, it's progressively going the Republican way. I mean, if you look at Arizona, it's tied at 49.6 according to our data. Georgia is going to the Republicans. North Carolina is going to the Republicans.
Florida.
Wisconsin is going to, just among swing states, 50.6 in Wisconsin going to the Republicans. Even Pennsylvania, the gap just 0.3 at this stage. You know, but with so many swing states likely going the Republican way, is this election now tilted towards the Republicans, or is it still too early?
I think it's way too early to tell. For example, in Pennsylvania, the vote in Philadelphia, which is a strong Democratic stronghold, has not been counted yet. That's going to add a couple of 100,000 votes to Harris's total. Also in Pennsylvania, they haven't counted the absentee ballots, and the early report suggests that Harris is way ahead in the absentee ballots. And now she doesn't have to win all 7 swing states. If she holds on in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, that will give her the 270 electoral votes she needs to be president. So I think it's way too early to make any judgments because a lot of the returns in these states are scattered, and at least in Detroit and Michigan and Pennsylvania and Georgia, they still haven't counted much of the big city vote, which should be overwhelmingly go to Vice President Harris. So I just think it's too early to tell.
I take your point, but just in the case of Wisconsin, it's a substantive 41% of votes in the case of Pennsylvania, it's a substantive 44%. I take your point that, look, that's more than 50% left in terms of counting, and that it could swing the other way. But just in terms of the counts which have taken place in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, is Trump outperforming? Are the Republicans outperforming?
Well, they may be out in front now, but again, I think I think we'll know a lot more when the votes from Philadelphia and Detroit and Milwaukee come in. They still haven't counted a lot of the votes in the large urban areas that favor Democrats. And so I think we have to wait, and we may wait days until they count the write-in vote and the early vote in Pennsylvania. So I just think it's too early to tell. I think if Harris I think the ball game will be in Pennsylvania. My guess is whoever wins Pennsylvania will probably be the next president, but I'm not going to make any judgments until I see the Democratic vote from Philadelphia come in, and that will decide the outcome.
Right, Brad, do stay on with us as we also get in an update now from Sameer Khedekar, who's an immigration lawyer from California. Well, California, we're braced ourselves for the results. But Sameer, immigration has emerged as one of the key issues that Americans have come out and voted on. It's the economy, inflation, immigration. Many say Trump and his team have the edge as far as the rhetoric is concerned and the bullish stance. Do you disagree or agree?
No, I think that's right. I think the topic of immigration is very complicated, but if we boil it down to very simple statements like the Trump administration has done, it's much more powerful that way. And so I think the emotions around immigration are very strong. And I think the Trump administration has done a better job probably in its rhetoric.
Americans have actually been quite vocal about how they're upset with the direction that the country is heading in. In terms of having understood that, what do you think Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, which specific moves have really helped them sort of rise to the occasion?
Well, I think, under a Harris administration, I think immigration will play a very important part in our economy. I think the Harris administration will continue the Biden administration's practice of encouraging technological innovation and continued immigration of very talented and intelligent people and workers. So I think that'd be really great for our economy. And so I think, as immigration lawyers and as H-1B holders and immigrants here in the U.S., many of us, hope to see a Harris presidency.
All right. Let's go across to Jeffrey Kehine. Jeffrey, thanks very much for being with us. It was just suggested a few minutes back that it's still too early to really look too deeply into the swing states, perhaps with a couple of exceptions, Georgia being one of them, with 80% of the votes in. How do you see the trends so far in some of the key swing states? Because this is where it's all going to be decided. All right, so we seem to have some audio problems with you. Can you just unmute yourself? I think you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, go ahead. All right, we'll try and fix that in a moment from now. But would one of the other panelists like to sort of jump in on that? Sameer, would you like to perhaps come in on that? That if you look at the swing states and the numbers coming in on the percentage of votes, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not an expert on election trends, but I do agree that it is a little early right now. I think President Trump would really need Pennsylvania to win, obviously, as would Harris. But I think Michigan and Wisconsin are super important also for Kamala Harris. And so, once again, a little too early to tell, and the next couple hours are going to be very interesting.
Let's go across to Karthik Ramakrishnan, who's with us at this stage. Karthik, thanks very much for being with us. It is interesting because the Democrats so far are holding on to all of their traditional strongholds. The Republicans appear to be holding on to all of their strongholds. It's the swing states which are going up and down. And just in terms of the swing states themselves, where do you see the Republicans and the Democrats presently placed?
I think it's quite competitive, and as some of the other speakers have mentioned, the urban area counts will be important. The absentee ballot and overseas ballot counts will be important to come up with any kind of definitive conclusion. That said, it does look like Trump is performing better than expected, even in a state like Virginia, which did not look like it was going to be close at all. It looks closer than it did in 2020. So, and clearly the economy and immigration are playing big roles. Now, on an issue like immigration, I'm a scholar not only of public opinion and behavior, but also immigration policy. The Republicans have been very successful over the last 2 years in shifting public opinion in America in a more conservative direction. Now, I think part of it is probably errors by the Biden administration of reversing a lot of policies and not taking corrective action quickly enough. But it's also a fair amount of scapegoating and rhetoric that has been misleading in terms of what are the benefits as well as the costs of immigration. But it does look like Trump is having a better night than many people expected. It will be very close. It might take several days, but it definitely looks like the kind of momentum that Trump was having over the last couple of weeks is very real based on the returns that are coming in.
Right, Karthik, I also want to pay attention to one of the narratives that have emerged out of this election cycle, which is that Democratic voters are college-going voters, and it seems to sort of suggest that your blue-collar workers without a college degree are actually Republican voters. Help us understand, how did this come about?
Yeah, it's been this interesting shift that's been happening over the last decade, and Trump is a major part of that explanation. So the Republican Party used to be a party of free trade and a party that tended to focus more on businesses and higher income voters. What Trump did is he took the party in a more protectionist direction, and even among union voters, traditionally have been very strong Democrat. Reagan had already made a significant play for those voters in the 1980s, but Trump has come back with that kind of a strategy. So Trump is really shifting it, and what's happening is even among Latino voters who have not gone to college, he's starting to make inroads. But I would say the biggest thing that's showing up this election, which has not been talked about, is gender and abortion, right? So you have the economy, which is very much Trump's strong suit, but then you have abortion. In many of these states, abortion has been very restricted,
right?
So much so that even people that are trying to have children are finding themselves in very complicated situations for medical care. So gender and college education end up becoming bigger factors. Of course, race still matters.
Right.
Trump is winning the white vote, and Harris is winning the minority vote.
All right, we'll be joined. I'm going to go across to Michael Owens, Mayor of Mableton in Georgia, in just a moment from now. But just for the benefit of our viewers, what is the big story right now? It does appear that Trump appears to be pulling ahead of Kamala Harris. And I say this on the basis of the counting percentage, which is now coming in extremely robust numbers, increasingly from the swing states. Both the Republicans and the Democrats are holding on to their traditional bastions, but it is the swing states which are going to be making a big difference. Now, just on the basis of these numbers, and I do accept that it is still quite early, Democrats won't be happy with my saying this, but at this rate, the Republicans' chances of winning are at a whopping 69%, with Kamala Harris and her chance of winning at just 31%. Now, that's why, because there are 310 of 538 seats which have been where the results are out or leads are in. Of these, there are 112 in favor of the Democrats so far, and 198 in favor of the Republicans. The Republicans' chances of winning are 69. And Michael, if you look at Georgia, where you are, the percentage of votes which are in 80%. So that's extremely robust, right? We aren't talking about, a small number over there. It's 52.2% in favor of the Republicans. 16 electors from Georgia, very important. Could you give us a sense of whether this is along expected lines or whether the Republicans have outperformed?
Thanks for having me on. I don't know that the Republicans have outperformed yet. We truly don't know, and I am on the ground. I'm literally out here still in the streets in Georgia. I was at a watch party, so I'm on my way to another one. And Democrats aren't happy about what's happening right now, but we also know that there is an opportunity to continue to pick up votes, particularly in some of the metro areas. Georgia has very strong Democratic turnout in the Atlanta metro area, which is the vast majority of the votes that you will see in the state of Georgia. So I still believe it's way too early to call. Obviously, Democrats would like to be in a different situation, be out much further in the front. We're looking at the number from the swing states, and they aren't looking exactly how most Democrats would like them to see: North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia alike. But I will continue to say we have to look at those metro areas. All of the metro areas in those states are have strong Democratic numbers. So it's really going to see what's going to come in, as these larger counties and these larger metro areas, the numbers come in, because I do believe those numbers are going to swing in large numbers for Democratic voters. But the question is, are there enough Trump votes that are already out there that will hold off the what I think will still be a large number of Democratic voters that will come forward?
No, I completely agree, because even if you look at North Carolina or Pennsylvania or even Wisconsin or Georgia for that matter, even if 100% of the remaining seats, votes go to the Democrats, it's still likely to be, Republican or, absolutely neck and neck at best. At this stage, what is clear is that Kamala Harris has a lot of catching up to do. We're going to take a short break, gentlemen. Thank you very much for being with us. Return with the very latest.